Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the farm. Weather's nice and warm this morning. Got about 85-degree highs. Sun's already shining bright and early. Not a cloud in the sky, and not to mention this beautiful breeze we have, which means we're probably gonna find some beans to cut today. Helping the old combine operator out, stocking his fridge. He's a big Gatorade guy. Masterful fridge stocking work out of the grain cart operator. I can also add combine attendant to my resume. Comfort, convenience, combines. That's John Deere's motto. While we're up here, we're going to help with our routine maintenance. Dad is down there on the right side under the gull wing door doing some greasing, and I think something's out of position, so he wants me to fire up the separator for a half second. To do that though, you have to open up the grain tank. Very slowly. Thank goodness it all pays the same to me. You can barely see him right there. When you're doing an operation of this nature, it usually helps to have someone trustworthy in the combine seat that's not accidentally going to fire up the separator when your arm's in there. That would totally be a grain cart operator move though. Accidentally rip off the combine driver's arm. He shut that gull wing door, so I'm gonna shut the grain tank. Combine's full of fuel and exhaust fluid. It's headed west back to where we were yesterday picking corn. I'm taking the Draper over. We're gonna do a little maintenance on the Draper itself, then we're gonna take a sample of soybeans. Hopefully they're dry enough. Repaired the Draper yet, but Dad wanted to see what the moisture of these beans are. I believe they're a 3/8 extend flex. They look tremendous. Oh, those are dry. 13.5 already, that's my guess. Looks like we're getting them all. There's one right there we missed. That bean's kind of wet too. I don't think we're gonna need this trailer. 13.5.
16.1.
16.1? It felt a lot drier than that.
Those rocky fields sure take a toll on your cutter bar. We got 3 sickle sections in a row, or I guess 3 and 1.5 feet that are broken. As they say, trouble comes in twos. Or in this case, 3s. And then of course, you've always got the troublemaker on the outside that takes about 16 nut removals to get to. 10mm socket is a hot commodity when you're working on the Draper, so I'm using a wrench. What are you looking for? The 10mm.
You have it.
I don't have it.
I didn't take it.
Take it off?
I did not. It's sitting on the impact.
Well, no wonder I can't find it. Loosening this one a little bit so I can get this thing up.
Lucky that it was this one and not the ones in here that require a lot more labor to get to. About where these beans are going, we're setting up to a bin because we're going to put them in a bin. That's pretty intuitive. By the time we have this set up, the other combine switched over and Draper hooked up, these beans should be right where we need them. This wind is taking a lot of moisture out.
what this does is at the top of the feeder house, it spins very fast or a little bit slower depending on if you're cutting soybeans or picking corn. When you're harvesting soybeans, you really want all of that material to be sped up into the rotor. Corn, you want it to be a little bit slower. Can't get over how warm it is today. This may be our last good day of cutting soybeans this year. If not due to the temperature, because of the rain they're calling for tomorrow. That'll put us out of commission. Once we start to get these big rains and it stays cool, we won't have opportunities like we have today. So we're gonna try and capitalize on it, knock out as many acres of soybeans as possible. It helps that we're going in the bin because we have a lot more wiggle room. Gonna be one of these days. I'd like to think that next time the grain cart is back at this farm, we've cut a couple hundred more acres of soybeans. Dried off any?
Not bad. What were they before? About 16 too?
Yeah, something like that.
They're just in shade under 16.
Give them a little bit or cut them?
I'm going to give them a little bit.
It really is awe-inspiring how fast we go from we're going to wait 45 minutes to an hour to both combines running full speed. In this case, it was about 10 minutes. That's just the way it goes. This is another one of our farms that took a massive hit early in the season with hail. Not quite sure that the hail really slowed them down. And this combine is very accurate on soybeans, seems to be within 1%. They're so good that I'm doing something right now that I normally would not do. I am taking the loaded grain cart 2 miles down the road. Combines are still cutting, and I'm gonna dump straight into the truck at the auger because we're not gonna be able to keep up. Definitely a viable option to save us some time, catch back up with our grain logistics. However, I did not realize how tight this was going to be. You have to be careful when I back out. The question is, would I rather replace the bumper on the 10-wheeler or one of these nice floater tires? Maybe I could get a pair of tracks if I ruin this. Grain cart's empty. Now here is the important part. And that right there, folks, is why they pay me the big bucks. It's like I was never gone. This combine was totally not stopped waiting on me. It's my favorite time of day. It's lunchtime. The only thing worse than hitting a tile hole is hitting the same tile hole again later. That's on me. We only got a little bit left on this farm. Taking the head cart over to the east side of the ditch. That way Dad doesn't have to drive back across with the Draper on the combine. It's just a little bit over there. We do have some good help though. Lenny's in charge of communications. Lenny, tell him we're on our way. Radio him. Yep. Okay, I'm sure he got the message. He almost had to have scalped the ditch bank here when he came across here with the Draper. Oh yeah. Some dirt drug up. Not done cutting in this field yet. I guess you could say he learned his lesson. We're going to use the head cart to bridge the gap back over, no pun intended. Put the head back on the other side and call it good. Wow. Oh no. He's spinning. I was not recording, and I'm kind of glad I wasn't, but he about flipped that combine backwards crossing that. It's time for Lenny's first combine ride. You need to show up more often, bud. That means we get to run this thing. Turn the separator on, turn the head on, speed it up, hit 2. That means our auto steer's on. Whoa. All right, Lenny, here's the first rule of combine. You gotta be mean to the grain cart driver. Where's that darn grain cart at? I'm fully loaded and waiting. Lenny, you're not doing it right. You're not comfortable enough. You gotta get those legs up. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now that is how you do it. Comfort is the most important part of combining.
We've been rolling for about 3 hours now, and these beans are still in the high 14s. So when we started, we were putting about 16% beans in the grain bin. Not necessarily something I would recommend. Sure, it might turn out all right, or those beans may be rotten and stuck to the floor come March when we pull them out of the bin. I'd completely forgotten the effect that a combine has on small children and babies. It's like a lullaby. I remember when I was young, I'd take a nap right down there. Not quite sure I could fit there nowadays, but back in the day, sure, that's a good spot to be asleep. Last pass. I don't know if you can actually have a row of shame in soybeans. You have something to say, Lenny? You tell that grain cart driver. Really? I can't put that on video, that's nasty. Closing the top. That combine's ready to move. We're not going to take the head off. We're going to go across our neighbor's cornfield. Moving that draper, moving that combine, and I've got about 300 bushels of beans left on the grain cart, which is never a bad problem to have.
There goes Marty, just going right through the neighbor's cornfield.
What are they testing today?
My monitor's showing 12.9 to 13.1 for here. I don't know, Dad.
Boss, you got a dump? If you spill, it's not on me. Looks like we're back in the direct delivery business. It helps that these grain bins are right next to where we're cutting beans. It looks like all my help ran off this time, so I have to dump the grain cart and the truck and run the auger. I'm not exactly used to having to work this hard. Never ceases to amaze me how fast we can cut soybeans when both combines are running flawlessly. Already crossed the ditch, bin site field is done. Now we gotta work on this small one.
When I say if it weighs, it pays, is not what I mean. Unfortunate, nasty side effects of large amounts of rainfall in short amount of time on this high rolling terrace ground is that if one of the terraces overflows or tops, it'll cut a groove to the next one. And then usually the next one will cut and top and go on even farther downhill. That is exactly what happened here, except for all of the dirt piled up right there, making a mound, and she tried to harvest it with the draper and it didn't work. Not really her fault, happens sometimes.
The irony of this situation is I'm pretty sure standing in the same exact spot when I planted this farm in the spring, I said, you know, most of our pretty farms are not our best farms. This is a beautiful landscape around here. It's not really my first choice for high yielding crops. Oh, back and forth, trucker slash grain cart life. Bin's at 25.50.
Including mine?
Yes, that's total with that first little load. I only need about 900 bushels plus or minus 50 to finish off that second government bin. We usually can squeeze 33, maybe 3,400 bushels of soybeans in them. For those of you who are wondering, I do refer to them as government bins because they started their lives as government storage. The government bin program was in the mid 20th century. We didn't have the crop stability and carryout numbers that we do now. We weren't rolling grain supplies from year to year. The United States government hedged their bet against famine, so to speak, by purchasing, installing, and storing grain from farmers all around. Now, that's a story for a different day, whether or not that was a good idea or not. The end result, though, was they eventually had grain bins for sale. We have 3 of them right here, so we call them government bins because they were the government's. I'm not entirely sure on the details. I don't know if we were in a partnership with them at some point in time or what happened. There was a variety of different methodologies and strategies for using these bins. Sometimes the federal government procured the grain and stored it. Other times they went into a partnership with the farmer, or the farmer rented the bin from the government. Something like that. They had to certify bushels, all that jazz. Way before my time. Well, Marto, the boss, would be a better person to ask. I've got my 900 bushels on the cart, and this field is done. Couldn't get better timing than that.
We get to enjoy the ambiance of a beautiful Midwestern harvest sunset while I finish this bin. We're slightly ahead of schedule. I figured this bin would be full right at dark, which would make it difficult and dangerous to move the auger. Jeff's up there keeping an eye on it. On to the third one. Kind of an art form, doing that without running it over. You want to get as much in as possible and also not having it run out the eaves. Had to postpone my assistance with the auger crew to keep the combine crew running. They're the only ones that are more particular than the auger people. Significantly more so. Back at the bin site, I gotta go up there and open the lid. I'm not gonna take my camera, that seems like a risky venture. Not really concerned about my own life, but I am concerned about my camera. Other than my fear of ladders and rusty baling wire holding down the lid, that wasn't too bad. We're loading and nothing has exploded, so I guess we put it together, right? I don't normally turn my lights on this early in the night, but geez, I feel like I'm driving through a minefield. Don't want to hit a tile hole and shut this rig down for the rest of the week. Although the combine was stopped waiting on me, I did bring him pizza, so he can't be too upset. I've been replaced! To kind of fill you all in with our management strategy right now and why we're filling the semi-truck, these beans have gotten down to 12% moisture, which is great. However, not all of these beans are going to fit into that bin. We can put higher moisture beans in the bin and not get docked. Obviously there's risks with storing wet beans, but we're not necessarily super concerned about that. What we can't do is dry the beans back out once they get wet at night. So our game plan here is to load the semis with dry beans. Even if they pick up a point or two of moisture, they're still gonna be in that acceptable range for us. And then once the night rolls in, that dew comes up, if the beans pick up a lot of moisture, then we'll go put them back in the bin. This is more of a risk management strategy for us right now because it is going to rain tomorrow. It's almost a guaranteed thing. We'd rather get these beans cut. As much as we can get on a truck dry, we're going to do. Sunsets, the beans pick up moisture. However, if there's a breeze, they usually will stay down. Fortunately for us tonight, we in fact have a breeze in the cars. Not great for making video outside, but it is good for dry soybeans.
We're not the only combine in the area running. Trying to finish up these 2 fields here, then we'll pull the plug. The weather forecast shows a very significant chance of rain tomorrow. If we did not get these bins filled, we'd probably be kicking ourselves all next week. We might as well burn a little midnight oil tonight, get the grain in the bins. We can worry about something when it dries out next time. Met the combines halfway to the bin site. Should have enough to finish this bin and then some. These Don Mario beans seem to have performed well where they were not water damaged, which pretty much applies to every single variety and hybrid we've had this season.
Ooh, that's a pretty moon.
Everything's pretty much wrapped up at this bin site. The bin is full. We had probably 50 to 60 bushel left on the 10-wheeler, which I'll take that. We're in the process of moving all of our chest pieces back to home base. The Drapers are the last piece of equipment in for the night. Mostly because they're easy to steal. Well everyone, 80% of the fleet's moved back to the main farm and it's way past my bedtime. So I think we're gonna end it here. I appreciate you all tuning in. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you wanna see more. Comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love talking about farming. Have a great day everyone. Peace!